When we moved here in 2022, one of the deciding factors for choosing this particular house was that there was a nature preserve nearby. A bird preserve, to be precise. I'm not particularly into birding, so the birds themselves weren't the main point of interest for me, but rather the landscape, the vineyards here, and river walks, and there's swampland, which is super interesting. It was quite different from the forest we had near our old place, and I thought it would make for some really great pictures and for a relaxing landscape to walk in, and maybe it would also offer something new for my photography. For a while we were so busy with renovations though, and so stressed with it too, that I didn't really see much of the nature preserve. Only about a year later, I started going out with my camera to explore, and once I had found some interesting walks, I decided to show my husband one of them. It was the 28th of October 2023, and the date matters, so maybe keep it at the back of your mind and it will make more sense why we ran into this, minor problem. 2023, you may ask, isn't that a bit old news by now? And you're perfectly right. The reason why this is already a little bit older is because I was shooting film, and that involves developing, scanning, editing, and then editing a video on top of that usually tends to fall by the wayside. But yeah, let's jump into the point of view footage and see where this adventure goes. And yes, it was a bit of an adventure, and an unexpected one at that. Of course, I took my husband along the somewhat hidden path that leads away from the motorway and showed him proudly how I discovered it. You'd walk straight past it if you don't know that it's there, and you would only discover it coming from the opposite direction, unless of course you're a photographer and keep your eyes open to interesting details. We saw and heard the first birds a little later, and I can't really tell many birds apart, so I wouldn't really know what we were looking at or hearing. But yes, there were birds in this bird preserve. Inception. Photo of taking photo of taking photo. When we reached the bridge, it was already fairly obvious that something unusual was going on. I hadn't seen the tide rise so high until that day. Since we're right at the sea, the tides have a profound effect on the river, and it can rise quite high, as you see here. It is a river. Seeing the tide so high didn't really surprise me all that much. I was expecting it to happen. It meant that we couldn't go the way I normally take, though, because it was flooded. Ah, it's flooded, we can't go there. It wasn't flooded when I was there last time. A family got stuck on the walkway. The other side got flooded too, so they were in a bit of a bind. We didn't really stay to watch though, because it was obvious how it would end. They were going to get quite wet and annoyed, and we were glad not to be in their predicament. Oh, bamboo! Bamboo. So we went on and enjoyed a sight that was still unfamiliar to me then. case you're wondering why we were singing about the chicken, that's a joke by Peter Capusotto, an Argentinian comedian who has a sketch about communism explained by chickens, and it's hilarious. So whenever we see a chicken, we laugh about that. I was actually with my Leica that day, shooting my then still unfamiliar Minolta 90mm f4 lens. Not very fast, but long, and still acceptable to focus even on a rangefinder. It's not a focal length I shoot much, so if my compositions seem a little off, that's because normally I'm at 35mm and this was quite far out of my comfort zone. I quite liked the change in field of view though, and it gives an interesting perspective for close-ups too. Dark for what the film I have. Eventually, we reached the vineyards, and I especially like that part because it's such an unusual landscape for me. The only problem with them is that you will have to walk uphill, and I'm notoriously unfit. We huffed and puffed a bit and eventually turned back because there were only more hills and we still had to walk all the way back. I think we should go the way we came because we will get lost otherwise. they're all done. Shit, how are we gonna get out of here?
I have to go back and go to that road.
Shit. I think there's no way back. Oh. We had seen the flooding, but didn't stop to think that maybe we'd get caught in it too.
Officially, what is it flooded? That's where we came from?
Yes, that's where
That's
where we came from.
Yes, honey, it's flooded.
I'd never seen the tides that high, but that day was a bit special, and we had mareas vivas, spring tides, because it was the full moon. I didn't think to look at the calendar. So, in the end, we had to walk all the way around into territory that was unfamiliar to me, because we were entirely cut off. After a lot of walking, we made it back, and my husband didn't come with me for a good long while after that, because we walked nearly 9 kilometers instead of the 3.5 we were planning. I look back on this experience fondly though, because it started my track Mareas Vivas, which was inspired by this experience. I just found it so interesting that the world around us was so heavily affected by the tides, when I myself didn't really pay all that much attention to the moon. So yeah, full moon at the sea actually makes a difference, and that's what I learned that day. You may have noticed that this video was posted on a brand new channel, and yeah, I used to post my photography videos just on my main channel, which by now has 12,000 subscribers. But I had, a bit of a mishap over there, which involved amassing a music audience for some reason. It was entirely unintentional. I was just posting random videos, and one of them was a guitar modding video, and then also another one on building a guitar pedal. And somehow this resonated with a lot of people, and then I made it worse by posting a video on my DIY Eurorack synthesizer. And yeah, somehow I ended up with an audience that now follows me for music and not for photography. I still want to make photography videos though, but whenever I post one of those on my main channel, it confuses the algorithm quite a bit, and then the video doesn't do as well as I think it should, and then the next music video doesn't do as well as it should either, and it all creates a bit of a mess because the YouTube algorithm is just a bit shite in that respect. So I decided to split my channels, and now here we are, and I will be posting my photography videos here. So if you want to see my photography videos too, then I would suggest that you go down there and subscribe to my new photography channel. I will post them to both channels through the collab function, but if you want to make sure that you get these, then definitely subscribe to the photography channel too. If you enjoy what I do, you can also support my channel on Ko-fi. You can get early access to my videos there or download the music in them. And there are also behind the scenes blog posts if you're into that sort of thing. And yeah, that's a great way of supporting me. Or you can buy my music on Bandcamp, because that's apparently what I do now. So that's also another great way of supporting me. And of course, you can also just, watch another video that tells the algorithm that you enjoyed this too. And there's actually an entire playlist of photography videos that you can watch here. In any case, I hope I see you soon for another video. Bye!